Game developers have long ruled the land of entertainment, but in recent times, many developers have fallen short. Buggy releases, low server capacity, and even flat-out unplayable games. Game developers are not held accountable for such scenarios, leading to the current market being saturated with low-quality, lazy, and downright disappointing products. In honor of the unexpected, yet very disappointing release of Payday 3, this is the worst releases in gaming history. Postal 3 was released on November 23, 2011, with development starting 5 years prior in 2006. The Postal franchise is known for its offensive humor, iconic weapons, and its non-linear gameplay. These three things make it one of the most well-known gaming franchises out there. However, Postal 3 did not perform like its predecessors. The probable cause for this is that it was not developed single-handedly by the same company, Running with Scissors. Instead, Running with Scissors subcontracted Russian publisher Akela, who then also hired the developer Trash Masters. Running with Scissors was under the impression that the two companies they hired for help had the resources to provide the vision they had. This was not the case. Once released, the game was lackluster. It received negative reviews for its lack of an open world, terrible self-awareness, and overall extremely buggy gameplay. The review from PC Gamer was 21 out of 100, stating, "Suck and blow" are two things that Postal 3 will continue to do for some hours. In 2013, 2 years before shutting down, Computer and Video Games deemed it one of the worst 12 games of all time. Today, Postal 3 is stripped from the Steam store, and Running with Scissors pulled Postal 3 from its own online store, calling it an unfinished mess, and recommending prior installments of the franchise instead. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater's 5th installment was published by a new developer up to the challenge, Robomodo. The world had not received a Tony Hawk game in 13 years, leaving many very excited for the new release. What they were not expecting is the amount of unpolished aspects that the game is riddled with. Robomodo chose a very loved franchise, not knowing that if released in subpar condition, many consequences would come, and they did. On the day of release, September 29, 2015, the backlash was immediately received due to the poor aesthetics of the environment and being far less superior to its many former sequels. Robomodo, of course, was not as much fault as many would believe. As most bad releases have probable causes, this one was most likely due to the licensing deal between Activision and Tony Hawk set to expire at the end of 2015. As a result, the game was hastily developed within a few months and released unfinished with little promotion. The disc that contained the game only contained the tutorial and part creator. The actual game was included in a Day 1 patch that had to be downloaded separately. The multiplayer only added to the issues by bringing out the worst in the performance. All of this would lead to another 5 years before fans received the next Pro Skater, that only being a remaster of the first two games. Polygon made a good point in the review. Sometimes it's better to leave what's past in the past. No Man's Sky is a title that many expected to change the sci-fi genre for decades. Announced in 2013 by Hello Games, it offered over 18 quintillion planets, each with its own characteristics like flora and fauna, all procedurally generated. However, upon release, many advertised aspects were completely missing from the game, leaving players upset that the game they bought was not the game they received in 2016. On release, the game had no multiplayer as promised. Many features from the promotional videos were missing even after the Day 0 patch, and the procedural generation was not procedural enough for the vast open world, making many planets look too similar. Another thing that is often brought up today, even in the greatly improved No Man's Sky, is the long, tedious tutorial that requires close to an hour of running around and fixing up a starter ship, only to fix it and be stuck on the same planet for the base building tutorial. Since 2016, the game has received massive updates to its core gameplay and lots of expansions to other aspects, such as exploring abandoned freighters or having a fleet of your own. Steam reviews have gone from overwhelmingly negative at launch to mostly positive today, just like the next game on our list. CD Projekt announced this massive game all the way back in 2012, basing it on the tabletop roleplay game Cyberpunk. E3 2019 was a great time for Cyberpunk, as the reveal left everyone excited for what's to come, and the game even received multiple awards before the launch. Cyberpunk was planned for release in April of 2020 before the COVID pandemic pushed it back to December of that year. Once released, the reviews on PC were around 80 out of 100 on Metacritic, while the reviews on consoles were in the 50s. The game was so unplayable that Sony had to remove the game from their store page until June 2021. Both Sony and Microsoft also spoke with CD Projekt, and they agreed to allow refunds to players who asked. It wasn't until 2022 that the Cyberpunk Edgerunners anime was released in partnership with Netflix. People gave a resurgence to the game, with new purchases and many returning due to the constant updates that the game was receiving. The player count soared over 1 million concurrent players, topping Witcher 3, another game released by CD Projekt. A worker at CD Projekt who was planning on quitting after the release of Cyberpunk said, "So to have this moment of people liking something that we did, it's really feeling a bit unreal, that finally people are appreciating it." Today, the game has received a 50 gigabyte update, completely changing the game and making it unrecognizable compared to its day one release, just in time for its new DLC.
In and out, bitches! We're rich! Oh, we are going to the major leagues, Jackie!
The last game on the list, and most recent release, is Battlefield 2042. Developed by DICE and published by EA. Announced on June 9, 2021, anticipation was high. So high, in fact, that previous Battlefield titles saw a jump in the player count. This anticipation eventually fluctuated, however, due to the decision to remove the single-player campaign, the first time a Battlefield game would be released without one. Once the open beta began on October 6, 2021, multiple bugs, glitches, and connectivity issues left a sour taste in players' mouths, increasing the concerns. Battlefield 2042 became one of the worst reviewed games ever on Steam. The player base dropped from a 100,590 peak in November 2022 to a 3,528 peak in March 2022. It was so bad that a Change.org petition fighting for all buyers of Battlefield 2042 to be refunded reached more than 200,000 signatures in a month. This did not stop them from improving upon the game. Since launch, they have implemented over 400 changes, including bug fixes and many gameplay changes. As of the last 30 days, the peak player count sits around 11 to 12,000. In May 2022, DICE announced Battlefield 2042's first season of content, which would introduce various changes to the game, new items, and a focus on small player counts. In conclusion, game developers have long ruled the land of entertainment, but in recent times, many developers have fallen short. For it is the strong deadlines, long waits of the fans for the next installment in their favorite franchise, or the buggy releases they receive not knowing the circumstances developers are given. Gaming will forever hold a place in entertainment, whether the releases are bad or good. I'm just here for Spider-Man 2. Thanks for watching, and as always, I love you all.